Oh no, just as I suspected. Oil. Welcome back to Fix Everything. The Husqvarna LGT 2654 riding lawnmower. They call it a tractor, but it's more of a riding mower. This I purchased about 11 years ago, and I just noticed that on this side there's oil all over the frame. So that tells me a couple of things. That the oil should be in the engine and not on the frame. And two, it could be a valve cover gasket, could be the engine seal, who knows. But we're going to dig into it today and find out. So come along with me and we'll see if we can't figure this one out. First thing we got to do is remove the hood so we can get to the engine. So to get down towards the bottom part of the engine so we can see what's going on, we have to take this cowling off, which is this big black plastic part right here. It's held on by two screws in the back. These are 5/16. There's one here and there's one on the other side. We're going to remove those two. And then in the front we have two 10mm screws. One is gone, as you can see. I'll have to replace that eventually, but that fell off a long time ago. And then we'll move to the next step. Next we're going to bend these little flanges right here so that we can release some of these tubes. And they're on both sides. They just hold the cables together, so let's bend those down and get those out of there, just like that, which is very helpful so you can actually see what's going on here. And we're going to disconnect the fuel lines. Just squeeze that clamp, bring it down away from the front there, and then we got another one. And we've got another one here that has to come down. Watch out, there's fuel in here, so don't splash it all over yourself. Excellent. Just put that aside. It's going to drip a little bit, no big deal. It's about all that's going to come out of it is a few drops. And then we're going to take this one off as well. It's got fuel in it too, so be careful. Have a rag standing by. Then we're going to take this breather tube and pull it right off there, just like that. You can leave it at the top of the overhead valve cover right there. So if I look carefully, I am noticing some oil here. I don't know if that has anything to do with what's going on here, the bottom over here. It may. So we'll keep an eye on that. Maybe it's the seam up here in the valve cover. I don't know. So I'm just going to wipe that down. I recommend not wiping anything down until you are actually in there. So this way you can actually see where their oil is. Like I didn't wipe this down over here, so you can actually maybe trace it to where it's coming from as I wipe all the oil right off of here. That was funny. And then there's two more screws. There's a 5/16 screw here that holds the bracket, and then on the other side it's the same. There's a bracket with the 5/16 screw. So both of those have to come off, and then we can remove the cowl. Just pull straight up. Make sure your fuel line is unclipped from the side right there, and just kind of lean it where it doesn't point down, although this is the carb, so that's okay. So we're just going to put the cowl aside for now. Wow, and we can actually see what's going on here. So now just inspect all around each cylinder. This is a 2-cylinder. There's a cylinder here and there's a cylinder over here. This one's clean and dry over here. There's no oil spray on the frame, and this is very dry around the edges here. So let's take a deeper look in here and let's see if we can find something. Valve covers look good. I sealed these about 4 or 5 years ago because they were leaking, and I thought for sure that's what was happening here, but no, they are good. There's no oil around the outside underneath here. These look really well sealed. So something else is going on here. So here's a good shot under the engine, and that's where the oil is coming from, somewhere right around here. I can't really tell if it's the actual seam. I know it's very difficult to see, but I can show you up here, but there's a seam where the engine is in two pieces, and there's this silver glue or gasket sealer that holds both of those pieces together and keeps it sealed. And under here I'm wondering, and this shield is in the way, so it's hard to tell, but it looks like it's coming down from up under the engine there and dripping down onto the frame. So what I probably should do is wipe this all down and clean it, and then cut the grass and see if I can see if it's coming from somewhere. But rather than do that, I'm just going to keep taking it apart a little further. So I'm going to remove this shield right here and see if I can't look back there to see if it's coming down from a certain spot. So I took the spark plug wire off, and I'm going to now remove 10mm bolt back there, and there are 2 more right there, and that should remove this bracket so I can see. Although, is there anything there? Oh yeah, there's another bolt under there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of those bolts should remove this shield. 4 bolts, and there goes the shield. Now we can actually see the cylinder head. Here's something you don't like to see. Look at all the crap behind that shield. It's just caked on oil and grass. So I don't really need to go much further. It's very, very close. So somewhere right there, I'm really hoping it's not this seam of the 2 engine halves, because that means I've got to take this engine off and do that. So I'm going to rummage around a little bit more under there. I can't get a good camera view, but you get the idea. It's coming right from there. I'm hoping it's more the actual back of the cylinder head gasket. That would be more ideal. I mean, it's no fun anyway. I'd still have to take this air intake off right here. I have to take all of this apparatus out of here, but it would be far easier than having to take the whole engine off the mower. Well, as they say in the NFL, after further review, it doesn't look good. See this strand of something right here? It's part of a gasket, or just part of the rubber gasket, liquid gasket that they put into the factory. It's hanging right off of that seam. So I'm pretty sure the oil is flying out of there, because you could see the other part of the seam. See it right there? I'm pulling it right off of there. Yep, and right there is the seam, that line right up there. And I don't see anything in between those metal surfaces. So, well, it looks like I got some choices to make. I can A, just leave it and wipe this down every time I'm done cutting. It's just a little bit of a film every now and again, and just make sure the oil is topped off and make sure that it doesn't run low. B, take all of the engine apart and re-seam it. Or C, drive it to the nearest cliff and give it a good shove. It's very frustrating. Husqvarna used to be good stuff. Craftsman used to be good stuff. John Deere used to be good stuff. If you go to Lowe's or any of these big box stores and you buy any of these, this mower was $2,400 10 years ago. I see that they have almost the same mower for the same price, but it's a little bit smaller. But they are just stamped out of paper. I've got a couple of frame cracks back here. Actually, I can show you. The transmission belt kept slipping. See those giant bolts right there? There's an angle bracket right there. I had to shave down the frame and actually put that bracket there because the frame cracked in there. And every time this thing would lurch forward, the whole frame would bend forward, and the belt that's in there driving the transmission would slip off. I had to do it for both sides because over the years the frame flexes because, again, it's made out of paper. So that was one big fix that somehow I got away with. It's been holding for the last 3 years. But this engine, the Kohler, they've been having nothing but problems with the Courage series. Probably some of the other series as well. But I don't know if they're not made well or what's going on. But that gasket should not be a liquid gasket. It should be paper. And you can see the silver liquid squeezed out when they manufactured it. For some reason they went that route. They also went that route on the valve cover gaskets. They're liquid. Somebody just squeezed the tube of that black crap in there and then just covered it. But they do make a paper retrofit so far this has been holding. I did both sides a few years ago because they were leaking. So we'll leave those, but for this I think I'm just going to leave it and not bother with replacing that whole thing. The mower is 11 years old. Maybe I'll just buy a new mower, but that's definitely where the oil leak is coming from. Hopefully this helped you in some way. It's pretty easy to detect where oil is coming from. Just let it leak and try not to wipe anything down, but since I'm a clean freak, that's very hard to do. So just resist the urge to wipe where the oil is and just try to trace it if you can. So I'm going to put this all back together. I thank you so much for tuning in today. If I decide to do anything different, I will definitely post it, but for now the oil is coming out of that main engine seam, and really the only way to repair it is to take the whole thing apart and put a new gasket on there or make your own gasket. So thanks again for tuning in to Fix Everything. We didn't really fix anything today, but with a little sleuthing you can usually find out what's going on and fix it yourself. And I could definitely fix this, but I don't think I want to spend the 3, 4, 5 hours to tear it all down, and I definitely don't want to bring it to a shop because it'll cost the same as the mower. So anyway, have a fantastic day, and thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate the support.